Welcome, everybody. Very pleased to have you back at BB Dev Days Day 3. We are here for a very exciting, I'm always excited when I hear life after database view. Can I get a round of applause for that? Maybe not, but we're here with Eddie Barker. He's going to be taking us through the bulk data discovery and update around life after database view for Financial Edge NXT. I'll cede the floor to you, Eddie. You are recording and good to go.
Thanks, Heather, so much. I really appreciate it. And hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great third day at Dev Days. There's been just so much amazing content since Tuesday. So I hope you guys are just getting the most of it. And it's so awesome to have people sign up for your sessions and see what's going on. So I know, I look at the names and I see a good number of you that I know, but for those I don't, my name is Eddie Barker. I'm a product manager on the Financial Edge NXT team at Blackbaud. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved up from Charleston earlier this year. I've been at Blackbaud coming up on 20 years, and with that, I've done a lot of things on a lot of products, from support to QA, to running the QA for FENXT, to testing RE and Alltrue and CRM. And so I pretty much have my fingers at one point or another in every major project that we've done. Big accounting software nerd. I have been involved in installing them for the better part of 3 decades now. Great Plains and Microsoft Dynamics and pretty much all the others at this point. And before I was a big accounting software nerd, I was a professional baker for 16 years. And I have no idea what those two have to do with each other, but it is what it is. So in this, I want to talk about a couple of things. This is more of a discovery session. So I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to express your opinions. I've got a couple colleagues from my product management team on here that will help. I will stop and check the chat, probably about midway through, and make sure you guys have ample time for Q&A. If we don't get to everything today, then I'll have the ability to export this chat, and we'll be in touch with some of you to see if you want to participate in some more discovery as we do this, which is an important part of getting out of database view. So the goal of the session, like I said, is we want to update you on some of the tools that let you get data out of Financial Edge in bulk or into Financial Edge. So in talking to customers, we've identified these 4 scenarios, which seem to rise to the top more than anything. Again, the goal is to listen to you guys. We've got some pretty sophisticated customers, even in this seminar, who are doing a lot with the tools that we have and want more. And then there are people who are just dipping their finger into it and saying, hey, here are the things that are possible. So one of the things that I'm doing is if you can, please preface it with one of these 4 numbers if it fits. If not, you can make up a number 5 and just add that, because we're going to be pouring through this chat log and saying, okay, this is what we need. So these 4 scenarios are going to be at the bottom right, next near the Blackbaud logo, of pretty much every slide that we're doing from this point forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is you've heard over the course of the last year or so, some of us in product management, or if you're talking to a developer or whatever, refer to the Post platform or the Sky platform. It's a lot of endpoints that exposes an essentially new general ledger system. We've done a lot of work to anticipate your needs in receivables, in treasury, and then general ledger. As you probably all well know, receivables and treasury are the first as they go through their journey into an EAP, which Treasury's already done, and AR shortly, that we're going into using the new platform. So, um, first manifestation of this is in some existing endpoints like Create Journal Batch, which remains the most popular endpoint that we do. And we'll add some additional pieces of information to that endpoint about the new Sky platform to make it easier for you to access and to use. So, first discovery question. Um, Tell us in the chat if you had 3 endpoints that you needed us to do, what would they be and what's your use case for needing them? And if you see in the bottom of the screen, you see the 4 scenarios that we're talking about. This would be number 1. So if you can, please preface this with a 1 colon, and that'll help us sort things out since we're looking at a chat log. The other thing to mention is that if I ask a question on here, which I'm about to do in a minute, then you would say, yes, I want to do this, just so we know that we can track it better rather than just a yes or no answer. So if you had 3 endpoints that you needed us to do, what would they be and why do you need them? And I'm just going to pause for a second here and let you guys type. Of course, you can type your answer at any point during this half hour. And let me give that just a few more seconds. And now I'm going to move on to something that's very, very similar, is updating existing endpoints in Sky API. So we have an endpoint. Maybe I'll give you an illustration. When we started accounts receivable, because there's been 2 or 3 teams involved in that. And I was the PM for a while, and then someone else was PM, and I was PM again, and then Tom was PM, and is fortunately seeing all of this through. We know that there are endpoints that we need. The example that we never thought we need was service provider and accounts receivable. And then we started talking to clients, and then you said, oh, you need that. And it's like, okay, then it shall be in there. So as an example, as a controller, I need to add approved by to my Get journal entry batch. Okay, we've posted a batch within FE by using the post journal entry batch endpoints. And now for whatever reason, I need to get my journal entry batch endpoints because I'm looking at access more closely. And you'll see us, you've heard about the permissions migration, and you'll see us do some additional things with permissions revolving around user level and record level security. But that's brought up the need to add approved by to get journal entry. So John approved this. So if you've got questions, you can go to him, you can see who approved it, and you can say, okay, are there any issues, or what did we think about this particular set of entries before we post and permanently commit them to Ledger? So popular use cases, because customers have told us this, and I wanted to mention it and maybe save you some some typing, approved by, edited by, deleted by whoever user it is, are popular use cases. We're doing some work with a more improved, better audit trail. So those three endpoints and date and time obviously are going to be pretty important as we move down the Sky Platform release train. So if you have any issues that you would like for us to address by adding by adding um, some fields to an endpoint in Sky API, now is your chance. And this would be, and you look at the bottom right, this would be number 2. So let's look at time for a little bit. So we're moving into number 3 in just a moment. So I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully I can do it right. And let's go look at some of the, okay, we've gotten a little bit of feedback, but Alex, that's a really good point. Tracing transactions back. So and we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, yesterday actually, I think, in tracing RE back to FE in terms of posting, it's going to be really important to see the gift ID or see how we go all the way back to the gift in fundraising, the gift in RE. So yeah, that is definitely something that's on our roadmap. Tracing back, same thing with accounts payable. It's not just fundraising, it's AP, it's probably depreciation transactions, it's treasury transactions. My big spiel that I've used for years is everything ends up in general ledger. So that obviously, that's a mindset that we keep around all the time. So let me go back. And that's interesting. PowerPoint doesn't seem to want to be shared, so bear with me. I'm going to open it again. There we are. And I'm going to go back to this. And let me see, screen share again. And go to presentation mode, and it didn't wind up where I wanted to end up, but that's okay. So again, if you've got needs for something to change in an endpoint for Sky API, this is scenario number 2. So let's talk about scenario number 3. Because we have heard from a lot of people, and we have some more discovery coming up about queue. So the first step in addressing queue, we look at the user telemetry. We can see in bulk what you guys are doing. It's like 1,300 people posted a journal entry in the last week. Numbers actually a fair amount higher than that. 2,000 people have done invoices. So we get to see where you're going in the software as a group. That plus some of the questions that we've been asked all across the product management team in FE is what's happening with Q. Well, first element of Q is going to be a report scheduler. In our telemetry, we see that 90-something% of you use Q to schedule reports. I'm creating a financial statement or a set of financial statements, balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement possibly, and distributing them to my program managers. So I'm a program manager to nonprofit. I get bonused on the remaining balance in projects programs, A, C, and X. So those are my babies. Those are my concerns. So you want to keep them, for lack of a better term, um, from being on you about a financial statement, because they want to know day by day or however often how it's going. Also, a good way to catch coding mistakes. So they need to be involved in this. So we have the ability that we're working on right now. Is you'll notice over here, in the report, you'll notice a schedule button, and that comes with some additional fields, which is repeats. And if you've used Q, you know what this looks like: daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. Every however often. We've been talking to some customers about time of day, like you need to run this at midnight or you need to run it overnight. So there's going to be a little bit more work done around the time of this. And then, of course, the users to email. And you will see a list of users with a Blackbaud ID who are authorized to get into financial statements. And the mail is going to be a little different. So one of the things we identified is that we really don't want to send the entire financial statement to someone. That can have some security complications if you misspell something or do something else. That could have some implications. So you've heard about our new file system that's being used for attachments. So let's take this example of you're coming down and doing a financial statement, again, to go to the program manager who's got A, C, and X. And you say, all right, I'm going to send just an income statement to them. So you would set this all up. You'd select them as a user, and what they will get, the report will generate like it does now, because, for example, if you have a lot of fiscal years open, it'll take a while to generate a financial statement because it has to close equity for every open year. If you send this to them, what they will receive is they will receive a link to the file system, to a pre-generated report, and a little bit of explanatory text attached to that. So if I'm that program manager, I see, okay, we've generated these financial statements. This is where you can go to see them. Now, that link is not visible anywhere except that email. So you go in there and you click on it and you get your pre-generated reports very quickly, as opposed to, all right, I need to churn through all this data. We've got data retention policies and security in place for file system, or else we wouldn't have released it. So it'll be following all of that. So having said all this, what are the use cases you have in Q/report scheduler and why? And I have one specific question that I didn't put on the slide, and that is, how many of you export out of Q? So Q right now, like I said, it's 90-something% reports, but it's also about 6%, I think, exporting. It's like I'm exporting vendors or invoices or general ledger transactions. So if you export from Q, please just say in the chat, yes, I export from Q. It'll give me sort of a sense of what the audience feels. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing some more discovery. Let's see. So the last scenario I want to talk about is import-export itself. So this is import within Treasury. It's so funny that when we did the product update briefing a few weeks ago, a couple of very sharp, eagle-eyed users noticed that in creating a deposit in Treasury, the new Treasury that we're working on, there was a save and import payments button. And yep, you're right, there is. And you click on it and it takes you here. It's like, and this dialogue should look familiar to you. You've dealt with attachments. It's like you can upload a CSV or an XLS file or a more modern XLSX Excel file. We've got templates available for you to use and download. It's drag a file, paste a link to a file, and it's going to do some validation, and it's going to take you through the import part. So in that scenario, you can import payments onto a deposit. Not the only import, of course, but it was the one we decided we would start with. So the question I have is, do you have use cases for either import or export? Right now, we're working on import. We've released import to our Treasury Early Adopter Program customers, but we know there's more work going on. So, do you have a use case that you think is unique or something that it weighs on your mind about import? Export, we're still talking about. Export is like, it's a little farther behind because we're going, okay, what are the use cases and what's the discovery that we want to do with that? So I'm going to take a sip of water and let you guys type. All right, so that ends the slides that I have. So I'm going to stop sharing again. I just have to remember to take it out of presenter mode. Alex, that really is a good question. Your at import export API. When we get a little further down the road, so we're obviously very, very committed to our SkyPI work. There's a push, which is part of my assignment, to fill in the gaps that we need, which is why this session came about. So my understanding is that a named import set that you have in the product, when we get to that point, will have a corresponding API that says, okay, you're a Blackbaud user, here's your BBID. You can trigger this import or this export with a call to an endpoint. And I will also mention that in working on Report Scheduler, we also have the same idea, and we're depending on a third-party vendor, and I'm not promising this is going to happen, but it's looking positive at this point, that you would be able to run a saved report parameter set from an API call. It's like you have a financial statement, going back to my old example, of ACX. So those are the programs, and it's called ACX. So the endpoint is go run report ACX, and it'll read that parameter set, it'll mail it to the people it needs to, it'll generate it, put it in the file service, and it'll stay there per our data retention policy, which is, I think, 30 days or whatever, and then give you and it'll mail you out a link to that. So my vision for that is you say, run this report using this endpoint, using this parameter set. We're going to take everything you have established in that parameter set, filters and the content tab and all of that, and generate the report and email it to somebody. So Alex, that really is a great question. All right. So it doesn't seem like we have much more in chat. So if you guys need to go do something to get ready for your next session, please feel free. I'm going to stay here until 2 o'clock and answer any questions that you guys have up here in the chat. So I am even actually going to.
Hi.
There we go. Hi, Heather.
Sorry, I will put myself on mute. Am I still sounding draggy?
You sound good right now.
Okay. Alex said maybe he missed it, but did you respond regarding if there's a more robust invoice distribution API coming? Either updating the invoice list API to include the distribution or a new one?
Yes, and I think with this, that could be construed probably as a breaking change, which we try to avoid. We have been talking very seriously on the Financial Edge side about V2 of APIs. So yes, invoice list and invoice distribution is our second or third most used API, because again, we get the telemetry on that, other than posting a batch. You know, we've got all these partners who are doing this cool stuff in the marketplace, but if they're doing something, it eventually has to get into general ledger, which is why that was the first endpoint we did like 7 years ago. So yes, I am actually, Alex, if you're interested, email me and we'll set up a call and do some discovery. It's eddie.barker. I don't know, I'll just type it. I mean, you can probably figure that out, but email me there and I'll send you a link and we'll set up some discovery time about it. Let's see. So, I lost my train of thought here. So as I was saying, we're looking very hard at doing V2 of APIs. So obviously you guys have applications that depend on V1. And it's like, okay, this is my post and this is my get invoice and this is whatever. And apart from adding a couple of pieces that will help us cross into the new Sky platform, and those won't be breaking changes. So if you have 5 lines of response in the payload of an endpoint, you will likely have 7 at some point, I'd say within a month or two. You probably have 7 to connect you to the new platform, but that's all on gets. It's not a breaking change. All the 5 pieces of information that you have right now, and I cannot think of one off the top of my head, but let's say it's invoices. Then you'll have a link to get you to the Sky platform stuff. So as you know, we're working on treasury endpoints and receivables endpoints and general ledger endpoints as we speak. We've got quite a library of them, but whether they'll be V1 or V2 is anybody's guess at this point. We're still exploring what we need to do. Receivables don't have endpoints right now because we decided we would adopt the new receivables platform running on Sky platform. So when those endpoints come out, are they going to be V1 or V2? And I honestly don't know yet, but we'll figure that out. But the goal is obviously to avoid breaking changes and keep your V1 endpoints intact. All right. Any other questions from anyone? We got 2 minutes left.
Okay, Eddie, it seems
Yes.
that you're off the hot seat.
I'm sorry, it seems I'm what?
Off the hot seat. There's no more questions in the chat, so you are
Not,
off the hot.
it's not the hot seat. I always enjoy talking to customers.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm going to stop the recording, and thank you. We'll get started with the next session in about 5 minutes.